Welcome back. It is election eve, and I am with John King at the Magic Wall as Kamala Harris and Donald Trump will make their final pitch to voters. John, I want to start with a flashback. 2016, the first time Donald Trump was on any ballot, it was the day before. Here's what happened.
For 98 days, she has led the race. That's why a lot of people, the technical people, the people who do this for a living, say it's not a Brexit situation. But that's what Donald Trump is counting on. If you're behind in the polls, you can defy them with a great operation. Donald Trump in many of these places is just counting on it being this huge, come out of the woodwork.
As somebody who's watched him we all have, but I, really studied his candidacy over the past year and a half, the ups and downs, that he's fallen off the discipline wagon.
Turns out he's once again fallen off the discipline wagon, but will it matter?
Oh, so here's the 2016 flashback. This is where we were on this day in 2016, where our projections had Hillary Clinton at 268, knocking on the door of 270 electoral votes in the White House. But look at this map. We had the blue wall leaning blue on that day, right? She lost all three of those to Donald Trump, which is why everybody at home, be prepared for anything to happen tomorrow, in the sense that you can be leading by a little bit. But we knew there was Trump movement at the end. The question was, she had led the race for so long. Was it enough to overcome? Well, it turned out on Election Day, it was enough to overcome. So where are we now? Right? We're in a much less clear situation, right? Let me just quickly do this. In 2020, we already had Joe Biden over the top. It was pretty clear from the data that Joe Biden was going to win the 2020 election the day before the election. We still had to wait for the count because of the pandemic complexities of the election, but it was pretty clear. And then again, you had to deal with the question, is Donald Trump surprising us again in 2020? And he did not. So here's where we are now. So the vice president, it's a modest lead, but she's had a consistent lead here. Modest lead, but a consistent lead here. Right, that would get her there. This is why Pennsylvania is so important. This is why both candidates are spending so much time and have spent so much in
And she's going to be there the entire day.
Right,
today.
right. And she's going to the right places in terms of getting votes and stuff. Because look, if she holds these, doesn't mean she will. But she's had a modest, consistent lead in both of those states. If she holds these, that's enough. As long as she picks up Nebraska's 2nd congressional district where all the polling, so she's running strong. That's her easiest path. No path is easy. But that's the easiest path. If she doesn't win this, let's say Donald Trump wins that. How does Harris get there? Well, you have to win at least two more. And even these two wouldn't be enough. Let's say she did well out here. Those two aren't enough because they're not big enough in terms of how many electoral votes they have. That's why Pennsylvania is so prominent here. If you're Donald Trump, you think if you win Pennsylvania that you're going to do this again, right? That you're going to defy the polling again and you're going to do this.
Because almost always, except for I think it was 88 that they didn't vote together.
They voted together since 1992.
Yeah.
They have voted, the three of them have voted together since 1992, including 2016 when they did this. In every other election, they have voted blue, which is why, again, will we know the winner here tomorrow night? Maybe not, but we might know the winners here. And so you see if they're sticking together or anything like that. But if you watch this play out, even if Donald Trump wins the blue wall, he still has to win somewhere else. Right? But if you're winning the three of these, it's a pretty safe bet you're going to win at least one or two of those. We live in a pretty nationalized election climate. So that's why this one is so key, because it's 19. Right? This is 16. That's 16. You think, well, that's only 3. But when you're trying to get to 270, if we have a, he wins one, she wins one, then you just get into this wild card race. I mean, it lets us, if Donald Trump were to win the whole blue wall, right? This is what's fascinating to me. Let's just these are the whiter, older states, right? Demographically, they should favor him. These have been more Republican states of late. But let's say Donald Trump won all that. Can the vice president still win? Well, yes, but she would have to pull off a Sun Belt sweep. You have to come across and just do the entire, come on for me there. She would have to do all the Sun Belt states, right? It would be a very different map, a map like we've never seen before. But 2020 was a map with Arizona and Georgia flipping like we've never seen before,
right.
Which is why, these are the three that most likely are going to decide who goes to the dance, who gets 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Those are the three that are likely to decide it. But again, we live in this crazy year where there's many different paths. There's many different ways to get there. And again, we could have a blow by blow, state by state, or somebody could sweep them like Biden did in 2020.
We're just going to have to let the voters vote.
Math.
We will tell you what happens. It is very possible that Donald Trump could just win this outright, legit. But it's not going to happen that they're going to be done counting for lots of reasons. Primarily the laws of these key states, MJ. North Carolina and Arizona, new laws may delay reporting of early votes. Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, mail-in ballots are not processed until Election Day. Nevada, ballots postmarked on Election Day are accepted even if they arrive by November 9th.
Yeah, and all of that is why we have been doing so much work to try to just prepare our readers and our viewers on what kinds of scenarios we might expect, and just to let it sink into people's heads, the slowness, the potential slowness that we might see in the counting and certain states being called, that all of that is within the realm of possibility. And that has translated for the Harris campaign on actually predicting over and over again in all of their public statements, we fully expect that Donald Trump is going to either declare victory or say that something has gone awry, something sinister is at play, so that they can almost numb people to that possibility, so that when he does it, there aren't people that are saying, oh my gosh, is this a thing that's happening that we should be suspicious of? They want people to have heard that over and over again.
Everyone should take a deep breath. It's been a long campaign, but it is over almost soon. But one thing that I'm sort of struck by this is we talked to voters. January 6th, an election, the election of denialism is part of this campaign now. It was not the last campaign. That was after 2020. So this is driving some voters to the polls. I met a woman in Wisconsin last week who said she is voting in this election. Her main issue is January 6th. So all of this, every time that the former president says it, he is sort of driving some people potentially. But let's all take a deep breath because it may not take all week, but it may.
I talked to Tim Scott, who's a supporter. He came on State of the Union as a surrogate for Donald Trump, asked him about the lies that Donald Trump has been telling. Let's watch that.
I would never tell any candidate on the ballot to talk about what happens if they lose. Obviously, you're going to lean into the victory, especially
I
when the
appreciate that,
latest
Senator.
polls
Forgive me,
in battleground states
but spreading
says
false
that you're
rumors.
running forward. You're running ahead of your candidate.
Totally,
No,
but
listen,
saying false
Dana,
things
you and I
about
disagree on this one.
fraud
Totally disagree on this
is
one.
not. You think it's okay to spread false rumors about fraud and undermine the integrity of the election, regardless of what happens?
Dana, the liberal media has done a better job of spreading misinformation
come on,
than any
Senator.
candidate I've seen so far.
The crime there is he knows better, and yet they just keep saying it. Donald Trump knows better, and he just keeps saying it. And the impact of the crime is that you talk to dozens of really hard-working, honest Americans who are Trump voters, who have now this is in their bloodstream. Do not trust the media. Do not trust the count. Do not trust the honest people who count the votes in their own county, who are their neighbors, who are their friends. And so that is, to me, it's reprehensible. Number one, he didn't complain after he won in 2016. It's funny, right? He doesn't complain about the system when he wins. He only complains when he loses. But they have put so much poison in the well so that they can challenge it. And he's had, sadly, a lot of help from the mega media echo chamber, which has said there's no way she can get 75 million votes. She's incompetent. The only way she can win is for it to be stolen. And so it's not just Donald Trump. He's had a lot of help from Senator Scott, but also from the mega media ecosphere.
And that includes, and is especially true when you look at social media and that echo chamber. Sarah Murray has a terrific piece on CNN.com about just taking a look at Georgia, and it's Republican versus Republican there. Right. You have Republicans who are putting out information on videos that are just not true, and then you have the Republican leadership in the state saying, stop, do not believe this.
Listen, and thank goodness for those folks who are in leadership in some of these states. They were crucial in 2020 as the Trump campaign and Trump himself tried to overturn the election. So we hope that firewall remains in states like Georgia. You know, I am confident that Americans are smart. We've sort of seen this movie before in terms of the Trump playbook of seeding the waters with some of these conspiracy theories, even before the votes are cast and all counted. So I do take some comfort in that there has been an education, a sort of trial by fire because of Donald Trump, and Americans are sort of hip to the games and the conspiracy theories coming out of his mouth.